Put a single fruit fly in a tube, give it all the food it could ever want, clean air, nothing to fear, then just leave it there, alone, for 1 week. When scientists did exactly that, the fly started sleeping less and eating more. A lonely fly, doing the same sad thing a lonely person does. It sounds like a joke. It isn't. A fly has around 100,000 neurons. You have around 86 billion. And yet a week by itself was enough to reach in and change how that fly slept and ate, the way a bad stretch of solitude reaches into you. So here's the question. Do animals get lonely? Not do they like company. Do they feel that specific ache? The one that sits in your chest at 2 in the morning when the room is quiet and nobody has messaged you back. The easy version of that question is whether an animal alone looks sad. The harder version is whether being alone actually harms them, whether their body treats it as a wound.
Hold on to both.
They pull in different directions. In 2021, Wanhei Li and Michael Young at Rockefeller University ran the experiment properly and published what they found in Nature. Flies kept alone, but not for a night, for days. And what they found was that a short spell of solitude did nothing, but chronic isolation, a week of it, flipped something. The lonely flies lost sleep. They overate, even with food constantly in reach. When the researchers looked inside, the isolation had changed which genes were switched on and pushed the brain into a state that reads, chemically, like starvation. As if the insect's own body had decided that being alone was a kind of famine. A small cluster of brain cells they labeled P2, just a handful of neurons, sat at the center of it. A fly cannot miss anyone. It has no word for lonely, no memory of a friend. And still, cut off long enough, its biology curdles in a direction you would recognize in a heartbeat. Now scale up the cost, because for some animals, alone doesn't just feel bad. It kills. Take an ant. Not a colony, one ant. In 2015, researchers led by Akiko Kodo and Laurent Keller took carpenter ants, Camponotus fella, and raised some in groups of 10 and some completely alone, and then simply watched how long they lived. The ants in groups lasted about 66 days. The ants kept alone lasted 6.5. Same species, same food, same box, 10 times the life, and the only difference was company. Then the researchers looked at why, and the answer is stranger than starving. They fed the ants blue-dyed sugar water to track it, and the lonely ones had eaten exactly as much as the ants in groups. The food was in there. It just wasn't going anywhere. It sat in the crop, the little social stomach an ant uses to carry meals home for everybody else, and stayed there, undigested. Because in this species, moving a meal from the crop into the actual gut takes another ant. They pass food mouth to mouth. Whether it's something in the fluid they share, or just the touch itself, nobody has pinned that down yet. But without it, the pump doesn't run. So the ant eats its fill and starves anyway, with a full stomach. And the rescue was absurdly small. Give it one nestmate, and it lived longer. Not more food. Company. Company is what turns food into life. It didn't even have to be a grown ant. A worker left alone with nothing but a few larvae to tend lasted 22 days, more than 3 times longer than one with nobody to look after at all. A follow-up in 2023 traced the damage to oxidative stress, the cellular kind of rust, in a body never built to run alone. An ant, a fly, these are creatures we swat without a thought, and isolation is quietly lethal to them. So what happens when you move up to an animal that can actually form a bond, and then you break it? Meet the prairie vole, Microtus ocrogaster, a small brown rodent, unremarkable to look at, except that it does something most mammals never do. It falls for one partner and stays, mates for life, shares a nest, raises the young together. In 2007, Angela Grippo took voles that had lived beside a sibling since weaning and moved them into a cage of their own. 4 weeks later, they were drinking noticeably less of the sugar water they used to love. Not a mate taken away, a sibling, just the roommate gone, and the sweetness went out of things. Then in 2009, Oliver Bosch went after the part that hurts most. He paired male voles with a female, let the bond set, then took her away. Within days, the males gave up faster in a swim test, floating instead of struggling. Their corticosterone climbed. Their adrenal glands grew. And here is the control that matters. Run it again with a male sibling as the partner. Take him away instead, and none of it happens. It wasn't the absence of another body in the cage. It was the absence of that one. Then Bosch went further, and this is the part worth sitting with. He blocked one system in the brain. The CRF system and the despair evaporated. while the bond itself stayed perfectly intact. The collapse was never the love. It was a separate alarm, firing because the love had been cut. And Bosch suspects that alarm isn't punishment at all. He thinks it may be there to drag the pair back together, which, if you have ever been the one calling twice, might sound familiar. And it doesn't stop at small brains. Elephants live in tight families led by a matriarch. In 2022, researchers led by Martin Seltman tracked 95 working elephants through the forests of Myanmar, measuring the stress hormones in their droppings. The social life was written straight into the chemistry. The males with no friends carried more stress than the ones who had them. Not sadness on a face. Loneliness you could measure in an animal the size of a truck. Fly, ant, vole, elephant. Wildly different animals, separated by hundreds of millions of years, and isolation reaches into every one of them and does measurable harm. Which raises the obvious question: why would being alone hurt at all? Why not just feel neutral about it? And the best answer we have turns the whole thing on its head. Loneliness isn't a malfunction, it's an alarm. The psychologist John Cacioppo spent his career on this, and in 2018 he and Stephanie Cacioppo set it down as the evolutionary theory of loneliness. The idea is deceptively simple. Loneliness, they argued, belongs to the same family as hunger, thirst, and pain. Think about what pain is for. It isn't there to torture you. It's a signal, unpleasant on purpose, that yanks your hand off the stove before you lose it. Hunger drags you toward food, thirst toward water, and loneliness drags you back toward other people. Because for a social animal, being cut off from the group was a death sentence. Alone, you got no help, no warning, no shared warmth. So evolution made isolation feel awful, on purpose, to push you home. Which means the ache isn't weakness, it's ancient safety software, running in anything that survives by sticking together. The fly, the ant, the vole, and you, all carrying a version of the same warning light, wired to flick on the moment you've been apart too long. But here is where you have to stop, because the flip side of that idea is just as important, and it's where most people get animals wrong. If loneliness is an alarm built for social animals, then it was never meant for the loners. And plenty of animals are loners by design. A tiger, a leopard, most bears, spends the bulk of its life alone, and nothing in its biology objects. For them, solitude isn't a wound, it's the natural state, and company isn't automatically a gift either. The African striped mouse can go either way, living in a crowded family group or striking out alone, depending on how packed the neighborhood is. When Ivana Schopf and Karsten Schraden thinned the population out and let grouped mice go solitary, the animals' stress hormones dropped. Group life had been costing them the whole time. For that mouse, the crowd was the bill. So the honest answer to do animals get lonely was never a flat yes. It's this: the animals that get lonely are the social ones. The ones that evolved to need a group carry the alarm. The ones that evolved to go it alone simply don't. Alone and lonely are not the same word, and nature keeps them very separate. And there is one more piece of honesty owed here, the hardest one. Everything we measured, the fly's lost sleep, the ant's short life, the vole's rising hormones, is the machinery of loneliness, the outputs. The stress, the behavior, the biology. What we can't do is climb inside a fly and confirm it feels the way you feel at 2 in the morning. Maybe it's running the old program with the lights off. No inner ache at all. We read the alarm going off. We can't yet read the feeling. So be careful with your own house. Your dog probably does hate being left, and social animals clearly suffer without their own kind. But nothing we can measure says your cat is sitting in existential despair every time you leave for work, and it's a mistake to hand every creature your exact heartbreak. What we can say is stranger and, honestly, kinder than a simple yes. Do animals get lonely? The ones built like you do. Somewhere out there right now, an animal separated from its own is running the same alarm you run, its body treating the empty space as a threat, exactly the way yours does. And it turns out that alarm is old. Older than mammals. Old enough that a fly in a tube, with a brain you could lose in a speck of dust, still lost sleep over being alone. That thing you feel when the room goes quiet and the phone stays dark, that is not a modern weakness. It's not proof there's something wrong with you. It's one of the oldest survival signals life ever built. The same one flickering in a lonely fly, telling you what it has told living things for 500 million years. Go find the others. You were never meant to do this alone.